What's up, Rumors Are True podcast? This is Joey Svensson. You may remember me from Bad Christian or Pastor with No Answers podcast, and I've got some pretty killer news. Me, my brother Jared, and your favorite podcast host, Jeremy Gould, the one delivering to you the episode you're about to listen to, started Roster Music Club. In the last 3 months, club members have enjoyed 6 online performances by some of the very artists you and I love, including Gyro from Mortal, Bill from The Throws, and Ted from Craig's Brother. We've had a couple of hangouts, have established our club's top 10 tooth and nail albums, and we started a war. That's EP Wars, 16 of the greatest EPs going head-to-head in a tournament until we crown the victor. We've been supplying curated playlists. There's a private podcast feed with extra content, and videos of everything that's ever happened in the club is yours when you join. In upcoming months, we're doing a deep dive on all things Radiohead, and as I speak, 3 musicians are listening to the club's top 10 tooth and nail releases, albums we've enjoyed for 30 years. These artists that I rounded up, they're listening to these albums for the very first time, and I can't wait to hear how they react. The Starflyer 59 Silver, Living Sacrifice Reborn, Life in General by MXPX. Hearing these albums for the first time. So we're going to talk to them for a live event, and it'll be released on the Roster Music podcast that you should be listening to if you like this podcast. Hey, the club is free to try for a month, then $10 a month from there on out. And I'll tell you this, not a club member has left since joining, so it's worth every penny. Support the club and this show by joining with this code.
RUMORS. That spells rumors.
Hey, we can't wait to see you there. Rostermusic.club. Go there now and join.
Hey, this is Gyro from Mortal, Folzandura, Morzan, and Lemon Bear for now. And you're listening to the Rumors Are True podcast.
Welcome, this is Jeremy Allen Gould, and I'm coming to you today to confirm between God and of man that the rumors you have all heard are true. I started this podcast to have a platform for the bands and artists that I've worked with in the past, as well as new musicians and artists that influenced myself and many others. The Rumors Are True podcast is an opportunity for the artists to tell their story their way. I'm still in the business of confirming rumors. I still love a good conversation, and I still freaking love music. So thanks again for joining me on this journey, and I hope you like what you hear. With that said, the rumors are definitely true. Thank you for tuning into this latest episode of the Rumors Are True podcast. My name is Jeremy, and today I welcome Bil Brown and Dave Anderson. You know Bill and Dave from the band DigHayZoose. Awesome conversation with this legendary band. So honored to have these two guys on to talk about the journey of the band as well as what they've been up to in their lives since the band. So I hope you enjoy this latest episode with Bil Brown and Dave Anderson. Bill and Dave, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thanks
definitely
for having us.
My pleasure.
No, I am super honored to have you guys on. Loved your band since I was a teenager. So it's really cool to get to talk to you guys and hear your story. You guys are kind of, we're a mysterious band to many. So I'm just super stoked to get behind the curtain and definitely hear your stories. And again, thank you so much for coming on. I'm deeply honored.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, what is going on in your worlds? Tell me individually. Bill, let's go with you first and tell me what's going on in your world right now.
Well, let's see. I have 4 adult children, 2 of which are here currently at our home. I'm married, which has been a long thing and very good thing. I work for the University of Kansas Health System. Our hospital just got acquired by them, and so I'm in the marketing department there, and I do graphic design and art direction and sort of anything else they ask me to do. And then as far as musically speaking, I am in 2 bands right now, which was not really the plan, but it's kind of worked out that way. So I'm in a honky-tonk early rock and roll band, which was the plan. And then 2 of the guys in that band have a 80s and 90s cover band, and their bass player is currently undergoing cancer treatment. So I'm kind of filling the spot for him until he's well enough to start doing that again. So that'll be at least probably for the end of this year, and then we'll just kind of see what happens. So,
what are those bands called?
One of the bands, so the 80s, 90s band is the Outtakes, and then the honky tonk band is the Bluebird Ramblers.
Very cool.
So,
that's awesome. That's so cool that you're getting to, still be artistic in that aspect. And that's awesome to hear that you're still at it.
It's a lot of fun.
Amazing. That's awesome. Awesome. Dave, well, tell me what's going on in your world, man.
Kind of like Bill, I've been married for 32 years now, and so have 2 adult sons that are out in the world. So that's been good. After DigHayZoose, I went into IT for like 12 years, and then felt called into ministry, and so I'm now I think in my 18th year of ministry, and so I actually joined the Vineyard movement. If you guys have ever heard of that,
yeah, absolutely.
So I was the executive pastor at a church here for about 15 years, and then recently, after COVID, moved over to Resurrection, which is the United Methodist Church. It is the largest United Methodist Church in America. There you go. That's its claim to fame. That's where I work, and love it. It's a great church. And I just got approved to be a licensed local pastor, which means that I can now be a pastor in the United Methodist Church as well. So
that's exciting. Congrats.
Yeah, there you go.
That's awesome. Where are you living at?
I live in Overland Park, Kansas. So.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So just the other end of the city from Bill.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, it's a beautiful area. I was telling Bill before you got on, I was living in Wichita for about 11 years, and I actually booked shows after you guys had been done, but kind of in the early 2000s. But I would go to Kansas City quite a bit. It's a great town. I loved it. Enjoyed, the concerts and just kind of the nightlife overall. So. It's a great area.
Bill and I think have that unique trait. We have both been here our entire lives, right?
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever thought about moving?
Not really.
No, not seriously. I think there were lots of job opportunities other places, but it didn't seem like it was worth it. So just stay here.
I get that, man.
Kansas City is a highly underrated town. It's amazing.
It is a great town. Absolutely. Don't like the Chiefs, but it is a good town. I'm a Jaguar fan, so I have no room to talk. But yes,
we're the new Patriots. We know.
Villains.
Not a bad thing. Awesome, guys. Well, let's talk about growing up for you individually. Maybe some bands, some records, some influences, shows that kind of pushed you guys in the direction that you've went in. Let's go with you, Dave, first.
Okay. Yeah, I've always been a bit of a metalhead, especially in my early years, but not so much now, but when I started out. So I had 2 older brothers. One was 15 or 12 years older than me, One was 12 years older than me. The other's 10 years older. And the one who was 10 years older went out into the field to work, and he left all his albums behind. And so I snuck down into the basement, and my first like real album was Black Sabbath Paranoid, which I
Nice.
don't think my parents knew I was down there listening to it. But uh, and he had Led Zeppelin, Zoso. I was a big Uriah Heep fan. There's not even very
Yeah.
many people who know who that is, but they're the poster child, or they're the template for Spinal Tap. How about
Mm.
that? That's probably a good
Yes.
thing. But they're one of my
Yes.
favorite bands when I was a kid. As I got older, I got into Journey and Def Leppard, stuff like that. But it really was Metallica that changed my life when I was a sophomore in high school. Master of Puppets had come out. It was just an amazing,
Yeah. Great
like
record.
life changing album. I've had a few of those. That's definitely one of them. So big influences. I mean, you can hear some of that in our music as we came in
Yeah.
the speed metal thing. But right before I joined DigHayZoose was the next like major revelation, which was Jane's
Mhm.
Addiction.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
We
Yes.
made no secret about our love for Jane's Addiction. Just another life changing experience. In fact, I was listening to Believer, the East Coast speed metal band,
Yeah.
and then like I remember, well, what is this anyway? And putting in somebody had given it to me, like putting in Jane's Addiction, and just my world changing.
Wow.
And since then, it's been lots of bands that have filled that space. I think our favorite during Dig Jesus, my favorite at least, was Mr. Bungle. Basically
Oh, dude. Mike Patton. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
anything Mike Patton was just
He's
out of this
wild.
like uh, you just yeah. There's no words for it. You have to listen for yourself. Just make sure
Yeah.
there are no kids in the room. And
Yeah.
so life
Totally.
changing. That was a big influence while we were playing that Frank Zappa stuff like that. Bill introduced me to Frank Zappa,
Yeah.
but
Sorry.
yeah, and no, I still hear him in my head.
Dave, were you raised in a Christian home, or is that
I
something that
was.
and it was okay to listen to secular
No, it
music?
wasn't okay to listen to any of that. No, I did
You're
skip over Striper and Bloodgood and the
Yes.
Res Band.
Yes.
Res Band was really like pivotal in my
Great
life.
band.
Of
Yeah.
that drought when you're only allowed to listen to Christian rock, they really filled the gap in there.
Mhm.
So them and Barnabas, and
Did
so
you feel bad for listening to secular music?
I did, and I listened anyway. My mom. So it is a funny story. It might be worth listening to, but my mom decided one day to let me join like the Columbia Record Club. I
Yes.
still to this day don't know what she was thinking. So for one penny, I got
Yeah.
Iron Maiden, Peace of
Yep.
Mind, and Dio, Last in Line, and Crocus, and all these bands that I wasn't supposed to have. She had no idea for some reason, and that's what I was listening to in my bedroom. It was amazing. And
That's
so
incredible.
yeah, a lot of metal mixed in there, but all those influences came in. I was definitely love the heavy stuff.
That's awesome. I love hearing that. Bill, tell me what it was like growing up for you.
So I grew up in a Christian home as well. I'm one of 8 kids, and so I'm part of the back half. I'm the second to the youngest, and so my parents, they were pretty open as far as the kinds of music that they listened to, but my dad became a Christian when I was 2. So the experience that the last four of us had was vastly different than the experience that the first four of us had. And so, I grew up in church. Obviously hearing a lot of that music, and then of course the music that my friends would have in church. But then in my house, I had brothers and sisters that were 10 and 15 years older than me. So I got a heavy dose of everything from old school country to Elvis to Kenny Loggins. Like, I mean, you just go down the list. Like, I had each of my
Yeah.
brothers and sisters were into sort of different things, and so I kind of absorbed all of those things, just here and there. And then as I kind of moved into middle school was really where my interest in music started to pick up. I started to play and things like that. But so it was kind of through my friends. I also had friends. There was a guy that was the sound man at our church, and he was kind of mischievous. And so myself and then my friend Zoop, who you heard me mention earlier, would hang out with
Yeah.
him, and he was kind of like the adult that we could glom onto that would take us to do things before we could
Yeah.
drive. And so I was constantly begging him to make me mixtapes, like just anything. I don't care, put anything on there. And so that's where I first heard Black Sabbath. That's where I first heard Alice Cooper. That's for where I first heard the Daniel Band. Like, I mean, it was just like this huge mix of things, and usually he was doing it just to cause problems. So he would throw like a Little Richard song on there thinking, though, he's going to hate this, And then he would throw like a Black Sabbath song because I requested that. And it turns out I liked all of it. And so that kind of started me down that pathway. And he was the guy that would take us. Van Halen I discovered in middle school. A friend of mine, it was like during a drama thing, like, and after school we were working on
Yeah.
sets for a drama thing, and the lead guy that was in this play had the 1984 album, and I'd never heard. I mean, I'd listened to the radio and stuff, but I'd never heard that whole album all the way through or anything like it. And so then I was saving, a lot more money so that I could go down, have my friend Tony take me to the music exchange so I could buy used copies of Van Halen cassettes and kind of start absorbing that. My brother's in college, and I'm asking him to send me mixtapes, and so from him, I'm getting Elvis Costello, I'm getting
Wow.
George Benson, like, and all these like funk records that his roommate had, just because he was throwing things on it. That's where I fell in love with Prince because he put a bunch of
Yeah.
Prince songs on there. But then when I got to high school, I had this really interesting mix of friends. My sophomore year, I kind of just said, I'm tired of kind of fitting the mold that I'm in. I'm going to just do what I want to do and be the person that I want to
Yeah.
be. And so I had friends that were in the band kids, and the a cappella kids, and the drama kids, and the skater kids, and the freak kids. And so they all loved music in different kinds. And so I would just say, hey, make me a mixtape. And literally, I would
That's
get
cool.
like just all of the weirdest. So that's like when Fishbone came into the picture for me on their In Your Face album.
Mm.
A lot of the first punk that I ever heard was a result of a guy that I met when I was in high school. Then another friend of
That's
mine,
cool.
Pat Doherty, he had real older brothers and really weird taste in music. So then it became, I was just looking for the weirdest music I could find. That really was my mission. It's like, okay, whoever can play the fastest guitar, that's what I want to listen to, or whoever can do this or do that. And so, of course, Frank Zappa kind of came into the picture pretty quick there. Really, Jay a Hopping Turtle, I'm going to blame him for that one. He heard a Zappa song over, like, is the pre-show music before Motley Crue concert. And he's like, you got to check this guy out because it's weird and I think you would really like it. And so I remember I was down at Crown Center, and my first Zappa purchase was a double cassette of Joe's Garage. And I remember listening to it in my headphones in my room, just feeling like any minute I was going to get in trouble. Like, because and that's not an endorsement, by the
Yeah.
way. I'm not endorsing that. It's pretty raunchy. But really, for me, it was more about, the humor was funny, of course, but for me, it was the music and the fact that, he has all of these phenomenal musicians doing these crazy, absurd things. And so then, of course, he already had 50 albums at that point. So I'm trying to chase those. It was sort of like a Pandora's box for me as far as music, but
Yeah.
just, lots of different stuff, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And, some of those influences you just described to me individually totally comes out in DigHayZoose.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
What's obviously you discover all this music. When do you both individually start, picking up an instrument, and when does that, kind of come to you guys? And what are some of those first bands, if you had any?
Yeah, I can go. So again, listening to Iron Maiden, Dio, bands like that in my high school years, uh, and again, Metallica being a big part of that world as well. So I did finally like buy a guitar when I was like 15. I think I started playing when I was 15. And so I bought a guitar and I played, and I literally, it's like a really bad movie. I literally like sit in my bedroom and play and just picture myself on the stage, in front of thousands playing, guitar solos or whatever, long hair, the whole thing. And it, as cartoonish as that sounds, that was like the dream.
Hmm.
That was my goal. That was my only goal coming out of high school. And I had a couple little bands that I did in high school that were not really a thing. And the first serious band that I was in was the one right before DigHayZoose. It was a band called Degradation of a Nation. So I had a friend who was a punker in this has been my junior year. And so he gave me Fugazi, he gave me the Minor Threat. That was the band,
Yeah.
Minor Threat. They gave me some of those bands, and I just was enthralled with it. The pure, when you're in high school, you're angry all the time. At least I was
Angst, yeah.
angry all the time, and so it spoke to me. And so we tried to create this. Me and a friend of mine tried to create this Christian rock, like real hardcore. The term hardcore got repurposed for this like really light metally stuff that Right. It was heavy, but it was like, that's not hardcore. Like, this is
Yeah.
hardcore. Anyway, so we were playing that back before Bill actually was in the band for the
That's
toward the end there for a little bit, a little smidgen. You were there when we wrote the song "Hello, Mr. Hitler."
right.
Is it warm down there? That's it. Yeah, yeah. That was one of our. We were brilliant lyrically. That's for sure. Witty, intelligent, highbrow lyrics. But anyway, yeah, that band went for about. We probably played for about a year. Played clubs. Got to play. We played one show with the lead or the lead, however you say it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Julio's band. Yeah, Julio Reyes. And so we got to play one show with them. That was awesome. And shortly thereafter, I joined DigHayZoose. So.
Very cool. Well, let's talk about the beginning of DigHayZoose. Always a mysterious band to me, and I mean that in the best way possible. So unique sounding, so all over the place. Again, like you just said, in terms of the influences, completely makes sense. Bring me through the beginning of DigHayZoose.
Well, I can kind of tap into that with sort of I guess, the musical background bio and how I met Dave was through a DON. But I had played country gospel up until like the age of 18 with my family. My family had a band. And so that was always an adventure. We were one of the only bands like within this region that was actually a band. A lot of people would sing with tracks. And so we would get invited to these all night country gospel sings, and then inevitably we would end up being the backing band for almost everyone, and not by plan, but that's just what would happen. Watch it, you boys, just hang on there for a second, we got two more we want to do with you, that kind of thing. And
Yeah.
so I started doing that probably in earnest. I don't know, so 14 or 15 maybe. And so I kind of had played music a little bit. I was in orchestra in school and stuff like that, but that was really my first kind of like band experience. And so definitely a different one since it's with your family, But
Sure.
so the DON thing kind of happened. I'd been playing music. Well, I was in Turtle in the beginning, but Jamin and Jay and I had been playing with another guy from high school for a while before Turtle started. And then I was in Turtle for a little bit, and there was just something about it that it just, I don't want to say it didn't mesh. I really loved like hanging out with Jay and Jamin. Like they were really, really
Hmm.
good friends. But there was just something about it that I felt like I needed to do something different. And so at the same, roughly the same time, um, I was introduced to Phil and Dion through Jamin. Again, kind of the connection there. And when the bass player from DON, I think he was going to college, if I remember correctly. He was getting ready to go to college, and so they needed a bass player to fill in. And I was like, I've never played funk music. I don't know how to do that. And Phil's like, it's country, just faster, dude. Just that's all that it is. And frankly, he's
Yeah.
correct. So, so,
Yeah, I guess.
so I went. I think I played maybe one show with you guys, Ruby Baptist, maybe two. I can't remember. Was it Ruby
I think we
Baptist?
played two shows.
So,
Yeah, that was one. And we played in somebody's backyard.
yeah,
I still remember that show, but I don't know anything else about it. But hey, we
yeah,
left out a really important detail here real quick. Phil Schlotterer was the drummer
for
for
Dio,
Degradation
yeah.
of a Nation. We left that detail out. Continue, Bill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I went and did that, and then I kind of was. Phil always had something going on. I mean, it's just kind of how he was, and so um, and I don't know timeline wise like how it all fits together, but Phil had this thing that he was doing with these other guys too, and Phil was singing, which I knew. I mean, I knew kind of that Phil could sing, but I never heard him sing. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like he played drums, and so that's what it was. And if there ever was a singing part for Dion, it was just generally yelling. It wasn't singing anything as a background vocal.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Phil's like, yeah, I'm singing for these other guys, and I know that you're into Queensryche. It's kind of like a Queensryche thing with some other stuff. It's sort of like a metal thing, but I think you'd be a really good fit for it. And it's like, yeah, I'll come check it out. So I went with Phil to the practice, or maybe it was at his house. I can't remember. But Jimmy was actually the drummer for it, and then another guy named Dan Gwynn was the guitar player, and it was sort of Dan's brainchild, this band. And so immediately Jimmy and I connected like musically. We had
Yeah.
obviously a lot of the same musical language, and it's one of those things where it becomes the joke in the band. Someone starts playing something, and then the other guys, you don't get anything done because everyone's just playing stuff and you're joining in with what they're playing,
Yeah.
whatever cover tune. But Jimmy and I just really got on really well. And so we really liked each other. We liked, we were kind of doing things that were sort of funky, and Dan would stop us and he'd be like, no, 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 we need to, guys, I don't want this to be, this isn't what I'm looking for. I really need it to be straight. I need to be, like this kind of thing. And so we did our best with that. And meanwhile, the other thing I learned is that Phil could really sing and sing really well, which I was just blown away by. I hadn't known him for that long. And so, all of that said, we kind of, the thing with Dan, I think after that first practice, he realized, yeah, I'm not going to be able to corral these guys, and these dudes are definitely not going to be able to do what I want to do. And so he kind of politely asked me to not come to the next practice. And
Oof.
him and Jimmy were really, really good friends growing up and stuff. And so Jimmy was kind of like, I kind of want to go do whatever they're going to do. And so, Jimmy may clarify that a little bit, but that from my perspective, that's kind of what happened. And so Jimmy and Phil and I then started trying to do stuff together. And then, I think at that point, DON wasn't really happening anymore. And everyone's kind of like, well, why don't we see if Dave wants to come do it, and see if Dave wants to see
Yeah.
what he wants to do. So,
Yeah.
What?
The li-
Yeah,
the-
yeah. Tell me from your perspective, Dave.
Yeah, the Liberty Music crowd, Liberty, Missouri, little tiny town back then. The Liberty, Missouri crowd, a lot of bands and a very small community, and
mhm.
so we all knew each other. So I was roommates with Jamin Rathbun and Dave. What's Dave's last name?
Mora.
Mora. Can you edit that? Dave Mora. Sorry, Dave. So Dave, we lived together anyway. So we were all part of this community, like all of us. So we kind of knew what everybody was doing in that time, and I kind of started hearing some bands that were more melodic and things like that. And so I started moving toward, much to the dismay of my bandmates, not Phil necessarily, but my good friend who was the vocalist. He was not real happy with me either. It's hard to leave a band.
Yes, it is.
And he wasn't real happy with me, but I was like, look, man, I don't want to do screaming music for the rest of my life. There's just some other things I want to do. And I think we wound up at William Jewell College one night walking around. Somehow Bill was there, Jimmy was there, Phil was there. We'd all been over at Dion's house, I think.
Hmm.
And that was when
Crazy.
I was like, maybe there's something here. And we all joined up. So
What
I think
was?
that's it. It was sort of informal. And all
It
of a sudden
was,
we were a band.
yeah,
I love that.
Yeah.
It's organic.
it was very
Yeah.
organic.
Where did the band name come from? I've always wanted to know this.
So here's what I remember. I could be wrong, and I'm just going to clarify everything or classify anything that I say as I could be wrong about any of it. But what I remember is the friend that I mentioned earlier, Pat Doherty. He and Phil and I were at my house, and it was kind of a deal where I think my bedroom, I've got a futon on the floor. It's very bohemian, and we're kind of all sitting there on the bed, just kind of drawing. And we were all just drawing in this big old sketchbook and talking about stuff. And we kind of talked about naming the band and some things that come up. But that's Dave and I think, agree on this. That is one of my most hated processes in the world, trying to name a band, because
Mm-hmm.
it always devolves into insanity and stupidity. So finally people just start
Yes.
throwing out the dumbest things in the world that you could think of. It's like, okay, we need to just stop this until later. And so we'd had, I think, maybe a session or two of that. And we're all sitting on the bed drawing. And my friend Pat said in sort of a mock Hispanic voice, because he's Irish, not Hispanic, I really dig Jesus, man. And so Phil and I heard that, and we just kind of glommed onto it. And so I thought that might be kind of a cool name for a band, and threw it out there, and everybody seemed to agree. So that's what I remember anyway. But
Yeah. I was not part of it. I do remember being part of some attempts at naming the band that I agree with Bill. Those are some of the most painful moments of my life. So
there might be lists somewhere. I bet I have them someplace.
I
yeah,
was gonna say, what were some of the other names
I
I don't
potentially?
even
they
remember.
were
They were bad.
they were really stupid. Yeah, there were no
Yeah.
competitors, no viable competitors. Once we landed at DigHayZoose, it was like, yeah, that's it. I'm still to this day, and maybe the marketing folks will disagree with me, but I think U2 is a terrible name for a band, right? So it's really the
Yeah.
content that matters,
Yeah.
right? It's really what the band actually sounds like and who they are and what they love, and so I was glad we had found a name that everybody could get along with. It really
Yeah.
probably wasn't much more mystical than that.
Yeah.
No.
Well, I always thought it was so cool because, being a teenager, I'm like, dig Jesus. I love that. Like, that was like, at that teenage, I'm trying to find myself, trying to find the bands that like are affecting me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is such a cool way to say that. I always thought it was so unique and so cool. So you guys get together and it sounds like you've kind of are all on the same page. Is the music pretty difficult at first to kind of find that sound?
No, not at all.
Is it?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Bring me through that.
Well, you go, Dave.
Sure. I mean, we started jamming. We got together that first session. We practiced in Phil's basement. His parents were kind enough to let us use their place. And we just got together and started jamming, and it just clicked. And so I think, maybe I'm wrong about this, but I think we may have written Think About It like in our first actual jam
first
session.
Practice.
Like the whole song in the first practice for the band.
Wow.
And that's when we realized that, this was something that was going to be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
It was going to be a joy to be a part of. And so,
and I don't think it took us many practices to write all of the songs that were on the first demo that we did. I think those probably, I don't want to, I mean, maybe 3 or 4 practices, and we had most of that together. And then it became, okay, we're in this concrete bunker trying to practice. We can't really hear ourselves. We don't really know what we sound like. And that's sort of how the idea of we need to record a demo so that we can hear who we are kind of, it was sort of a funny thing, but
that's amazing. Yeah. What's that first demo like? Kind of bring me through recording that, what that was like, and, just looking back on it.
Yeah. Raytown, Missouri.
Right.
Brian Fitz's 8-track studio. It was 8-track.
Yeah,
right?
It was an 8-track studio.
Reel to reel. Yeah. 8-track reel to reel. And so, so we went in, and it was a blast. We just went in and started recording. I think what were the first 5 were Think About It, Zeptune, Dad Song, Ghost, and Buddha, right?
Yeah.
Buddha Express or whatever it was called. Yeah. And so those were the ones that we wrote on the first 5, the original demo. And that was just like, it just flowed. I mean, honestly, like from my perspective, I look back and I could say like, Bill and Jimmy were the phenomenal foundation for a band. The way they played together made it easy for the rest of us to be able to join in and find our place. And so it really gelled really, really well early on for us. It was ridiculously easy.
Yeah.
And I know some bands really pounded out, but we just had fun. It was a party. It was good.
Yeah.
Without alcohol.
Yeah.
We didn't drink.
Yeah. And so I think that studio experience for me, I mean, I'd been in studios before with like our country gospel band, but it was such a, the thing that I remember is going to his house and waiting outside because he wasn't awake yet from whatever show he ran sound for or whatever the previous night. We're all these young kids and we're like itching to go. We want to get in there and do it. And so someone had to go knock on the door, if I remember right. And he and I think he obviously had just rolled out of bed and he's like, yeah, go around back, or he points us to the garage. And so and he super nice guy, very gentle, great sense of humor, but totally like a trippy dude as well. And so I mean which he lived in a whole different world that we were used to. And so some of that stuff was pretty funny when we'd be recording and he'd say something or he'd do something and we'd be kind of like, oh, what? Did he just really say that?
Oh, come on. Come on. We can tell him what happened. There's the one session where he opened the drawer and said, does anybody want to hit a hit of acid? I think it was acid, right?
Well,
That's what he had in there. We were like,
well, no,
thanks, but no thanks.
no,
We're
Phil
good.
found it. Phil opened the drawer and there was like a weird little piece of foil in there. And so Phil's like, hey, what's this? And he's like, oh, dude, that's a half a hit of acid. I know a guy that's going to be looking for that. Like, it's telling this. And so, of course, we're all like, what? And we're these sheltered little kids,
That's hysterical.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Yeah.
But it was really just fun. It was fun to go in there and just kind of, again, we just got to finally hear what we sounded like. And
what was that like? What were you like? Was it what you expected? Was it something where you like, whoa, we're building something here? Like, what was that like?
Yeah.
It's always, to me,
it was.
Yeah, I mean, it was way better than what I thought it would be, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm just
I think that's it. Yeah,
I'm
it was
just
better.
like, wow, this is actually pretty good. I would listen to this. I would listen to this. That was always my litmus. It's like what I buy this off of somebody if they were trying to sell it to me at school kind of thing, And so,
Very
you
cool.
know,
And there's like this newness to it, right? So there's a looseness in the
hmm
demo where we're not as worried about getting everything right, and it feels very natural. It's the difference between playing the song for the 15th time and playing the song for the 200th time,
hmm
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And we managed. It was early enough in the band that we managed to actually capture that kind of time when you could when we were still it was still new and fresh for us. So
Yeah, and if you ever want to
Totally.
listen to it, if you've not heard it, I think all those tracks are still available. We put them all on our Facebook page a long time ago.
Oh, I didn't know
So
that. I have to
yeah,
listen to
they're
that.
all out
yeah,
there.
it's all out there.
That's so cool, dude. Well, how did Brainstorm Artists International come into the picture? Label, great
So
label.
yeah,
Yeah,
let me
go
let me,
ahead.
let me tell this like this is a totally 100% true story because this is like the stuff movies are made out
hmm
of. It is really hilarious. So we've been together 3 months,
Yeah.
4 months. Okay, so we just recorded the demo. I work nights at Hallmark Cards, manual labor. So I got up one morning. I think it was Friday morning, so it was my day off. And I got up and I took a cassette and I recorded our demo onto it. Had the dual cassette deck, so I copied it over on, and I copied it over. Sorry, Dale Thompson. I copied over Bride, uh, and it was a cassette that I'd made that was a Bride cassette that I'd recorded, and I scratched out Bride and I wrote DigHayZoose on it, and then I put it in a like there's nothing. It's just a J card, blank J card, stuck it in a folder and mailed it to Doug Van Pelt at Heaven's Metal.
Unbelievable.
And I'm not kidding. It was like a week later, Doug Van Pelt calls me. Like as I gave him, I put my number in there, right? Like so he calls me, and I'm like half asleep because it's in the morning after work, and I'm like, "Hey, what? Oh, who is this?" And he's like, "This is Doug Van Pelt with Heaven's Metal." I'm like, "Oh, really?" And he's like, "I love, like this is amazing what you guys have done." Like, and I think we did. I think half of any success is like the right time, right place, right
Sure.
time. Like there was when we did what we did, there was nobody really doing what we did.
No.
Even Hopping Turtle was something other, right? Like they were
Yeah.
different than us. So like we were really the only ones, and we just. I'd been reading Heaven's Metal for a few years and knew that that was the place you sent your demo if you wanted it reviewed. And so he calls me and he tells me I've got a friend, Caesar Kalinowski is my friend at Wonderland Records
Yeah.
in Elgin, Illinois, up in Chicago area, and I'm going to connect the two of you. And so he puts us together, and so we've got shows all over. I think that was the Shadow gig, right? There was a
hmm
there was a there was a alternative music bar in Westport, downtown Kansas City, and we played there. And Caesar Kalinowski flew down, watched the show. We played with Hot Pink Turtle actually. They opened
Oh,
for us,
nice.
and we played the show. And afterwards, he offers us a record deal
In
at
Chile, in
Wonderland.
Chili's.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And we're like, okay. And I don't actually know the BAI side as well, but
Yeah,
all of a sudden we had this. So I'm going to let Bill tell it because I think it's for your friend Brian, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So meanwhile, I was working. I was going to William Jewell College, and I was working in the Christian radio station there. And so I would help with. They had like a metal show on Friday nights, and so sometimes I would sit in on that, and then sometimes I would try to sneak alternative, and I put it in quotes because there wasn't a ton of alternative music at the time, and
Sure.
so it kind of just ended up being this sort of weird format show thing that I would do. Well, I knew a couple of the label guys just and not necessarily important people, but just people who,
Sure.
would do like the radio promo for those guys. And so one of those guys was Tony Shore, who had been at Frontline Records for a long time. And so I said, "Hey, I'm going to send you this demo. I really would just love your honest opinion on it. Just tell me what you think of it." And so it really wasn't any kind of, schmoozing kind of thing per se. I wanted somebody that was
Sure.
industry to tell me like, is this worth pursuing or
Gonna
not?
make. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Totally.
I sent him a copy, and he pretty much contacted me. He goes, "This is you guys?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "This is like you guys did this," and I was like, "Yeah, that's us." He's like, "Man, there would be people that would be interested in this," and I was like, "Well, we're already talking to Caesar at Wonderland." He goes, "Well, before you do anything, let's have a few more people hear it first." So I remember we sent a copy to a guy named Bruce Brown. Um,
Yeah.
we sent a copy. Tony had me send a copy over to Brainstorm, and I don't know if I sent it to Joe Taylor or if I sent it to, I think Brian Miller was the guy there at the time that I knew. So I sent it to him, and then I think there was another label that we sent it to. And so um, I come home from, I was still living at home, so I came home from school one night after working at the station, and I walk in, and my sister, of course, it's landlines back then, right? My sister, my little sister's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I'm glad you're here. There's a guy on the phone. His name's Joe Taylor. He's been trying to call you for about a week or something." I
What?
was like, "What?" And so I wasn't really putting it together yet. And so I get on the phone, it's like, "Hey, Bill, this is Joe Taylor." And just so you know, I mean, like, um, when when I kind of first started discovering music, the first concert, rock concert I ever went to was Stryper. Like it wasn't,
Yeah.
I could have gone to any rock concert, but it was Stryper because my friend Jay loved them, and so he was kind of the guy that brought me. Jay from Turtle kind of brought me into that. Jay's actually responsible for a lot of things in my life, but so I would listen to KWJC, this Christian radio station, which I could barely get reception of, but I would hear all this incredible stuff. I would hear Steve Taylor was always intriguing to me. He's like, wow, that's really cool
Yeah.
music.
Yeah. Great.
But
Yeah.
Undercover was another one just because there weren't really
Yeah.
any bands like that. And so, of course, Adam again, I'd fallen in love with them. So I knew the label, I
Great
knew the
band.
music. 77s were on the label at that time. So in my mind, out of all the labels, they like had the best roster because everyone on the roster, in my opinion, were really true artists. And
Yeah.
so,
Totally.
not to disparage any of the other labels, I'm just saying like they were stacked. And so Joe Taylor's on the phone for me, and I couldn't believe it. He's like, "Yeah, so I have this cassette tape here, and I just listened to it, and I think this is pretty good." And so I think I would be interested in bringing you guys out here on a production deal of where I could produce the album. And so he kind of just starts laying out his terms, but um, he didn't commit to anything at that point. He said, "But I think we really good. So what I'd need is I need you guys to send me some photos of yourselves just so I can see what you look like. Make sure you're not idiots, more or less. Um, and make sure there's not anyone that we can't put enough makeup on to make them presentable. But then also he's like, yeah, and then I think we're going to need to catch you at a live show somewhere just so that I can make sure that this
Yeah.
is something that's worth us doing." But so I got a hold of the band. I'm just like, "You guys will never believe what just happened. And so that's really the thing that started the ball rolling, far as Brainstorm was concerned. Tony Shore ended up becoming our manager, and I may have
Oh,
I
cool.
may have the timeline a little off on that, but he was the one that was responsible for us getting the showcase gig during the GMAs at the Cannery in Nashville. And
Oh,
so the
nice.
plan
Yeah.
was there's going to be you guys and there's going to be two or three other bands that are trying to get signed.
Trackster.
Trackster,
Trackster
I
played.
think I think there was a hip hop duo there too, if I remember right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so the goal was you need to go down and you need to do a good job at this. By the way, you won't be able to use any of your own equipment other than your guitars. I mean, it was just sort of like the makings of a disaster in some ways. We're just kids. I mean, like, we played a few shows around, but nothing with this much kind of writing on it. And so
Yeah.
he's like, so yeah, Brian's going to be down there, and basically he'll make the decision on the spot whether he thinks you guys are going to be something that would be worth our time. And so I remember leading up to that show was very nervous. I mean, we were working really hard to, get the songs down. We had some new songs too. I don't remember what our time limit was, but it was a very short amount of time. And
Sure.
that plays here in a second in the story I'm going to tell you. But so we were trying to get all the equipment right. It felt off, is all I can say. Everything about it, at least from my perspective. Jimmy's playing someone else's drums. That's always weird for a
Mm,
drummer. I'm using someone else's
totally.
amp. Dave, I think you had to use someone else's amp too, if I remember right. And
Yeah.
so we're trying to get it all set up, and Phil is just a nervous wreck. Like
Mm.
I think like Jamin, he vomited into a trash can at some point before that show. And so we go out there and get on stage, and we have it all planned what we're going to do and hit the ground running. And Phil pauses us, and he's like, "Guys, I think we need to do something else here." And so he basically leads the crowd in "Oh Lord, You're Beautiful," Keith Green. That was a song, right? Do you remember, Dave?
Wow.
I don't remember any of
So
this.
he started singing the song, and of course everyone that's there is there for GMAs, and they all join in with him. And it was such a crazy God moment. I just can't even explain it. And it was not planned. And
Wow.
um, these are sometimes the brilliant things that could come out of Phil. He would just have these, he would decide to do things, and so, it was a 50-50 whether it would crash and burn or whether it would be genius. And this happened to be a genius one. And it really just kind of put everyone sort of in the right frame of mind and the right spirit. And then we played our set,
Yeah.
and, and I felt like it was rough, but I was really nervous too. So, then Brian sat down with us after that and basically said, "Yeah, we definitely want to make this official. And so we want to bring you guys out to." And so I think there were some things that happened after that, far as contracts and all that. But that was really
Yeah.
that show was really the thing that made it happen. So,
Yeah.
That's amazing. Were you guys psyched out of your mind?
oh yeah, I mean,
Oh yeah.
we were jazzed.
Oh yeah. And poor Caesar, he was starting a new label. He didn't have any bands really on there. There was only like one other band. Or we could go and, like you said, hang out with the Adam again and the rest of the crowd there. And it was pretty easy for us to choose.
Yeah, they just gotten
Totally.
gotten like a distribution. That was part of the sell too. It's like, well, we have distribution into the secular market now. We've got word
That's huge.
distribution.
Yeah.
There's all these, so these are opportunities for you guys. And then of course to really just to get to meet those guys is really what I was thinking about. It's like, working with them is a whole other thing,
Yeah.
but getting to meet them, to me was pretty cool. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the thing I want to underline here, and this is just unbelievable. This is like 6 months after the band formed.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So like we formed in like October of 90, and we were signed and recording the album by June.
Wow.
Remember, we recorded in June of 91,
Mm-hmm.
and the album was released in September. And so,
That is quick.
yeah, it was a whirlwind.
But it wasn't
and
fast enough for us. Like,
Yeah, we were still upset about how long it was. Like, we recorded it, what's taking so long?
it was agonizing.
Well, let's talk about StruggleFish, the first record you put out. You kind of mentioned recording that pretty quickly after signing. Is everything written when you go into the studio? What's the recording like? It's your first full length in a I would assume a major studio or something to that nature.
Mhm.
Yeah, bring me through the beginning of the StruggleFish.
Yeah, so we did another round of demos. They always want pre-production demos, at least is what they did at BAI. So before we went in, we knew by then that we were getting Terry Scott Taylor as our producer, so that was a
Wow.
big deal.
Yeah.
DA Daniel Amos guy. So we really wanted to, we really sort of stretched into really writing songs. I'd say that's where StruggleFish was born in that time, which was more of an arrangement. It's more of an orchestration than a a lot of our earliest stuff are just jams that turned into songs. And so we became a little more particular in putting our songs together. We recorded out all of those songs, brought that. We actually sat, in the studio with, before the recording session began, we sat with Terry Scott Taylor, the whole band sitting around listening to the songs on a cassette, on a boombox, and commenting and hearing Terry's comments. And so some of our beloved songs, Ghost, which was on the original demo, got the axe. It was a little Mr. Bungle inspired, I guess. It was, or whatever. I don't know. It had too many parts, but it definitely, I don't know. We loved it, but it didn't make it. Then we had another song called "You Said" that didn't make it, but pretty much everything else made it onto the list.
Which
So
is a good thing because there wasn't a whole lot.
yeah, that is all we had. We didn't write anything in the studio. We had
Wow.
we had these songs.
Was it intimidating working with Terry Taylor?
Yes.
Yeah, a little bit. Well, I'd say at first. So I'm trying to think of. I think Phil and I may have gone out there earlier and met him. I feel like that might have happened. I know we went out earlier, but I think we met Terry while we were out there. And I mean, there was a part of it that was intimidating, but there was also a part of it I think he did the best he could to maybe diffuse that as much as he can. But at the same time, still, I'm the producer. You guys need to listen to me, kind of stuff. And not that he ever said that or anything, but I'm saying, like, I think that there's a balance to be struck there.
Know your role.
Yeah. So he was producing the album, and then Joe Taylor was going to engineer the album, And I just remember day one, they really struggled with drum sounds. Like they were trying to get the drums mic'd and sounding good, and no one was happy with the way that they were sounding. And I think that Gene ended up getting called. Yes, Gene came to the studio and basically
Wow.
helped them get the drums ready to go. And so we kind of learned some things at that part of the process, just that, I think Joe wanted to produce this originally, and we love and respect Joe and Undercover, but at the same time, we weren't sure that that was going to be the best thing for us. And that's really why Terry was chosen. We felt like he would have maybe an understanding of a larger, and we didn't know Joe super well or anything like that either, but it wasn't really, I don't recall that being a tense discussion or anything. I think we just said, we would prefer it if, Terry could be the guy for this. We feel like that would be better for our vibe, and everyone seemed to agree with that. So, um, you know, he would refer to himself as Uncle Terry. He would stuff. I mean, you're talking to the guys that absorbed all those Daniel Amos records and the Swirling
Yeah.
Eddies records and all of the lore and the things that come with that. All of the inside jokes, those kinds of things, And I think when you're kids, especially that age, you know, that's part of the reason why like you love Frank Zappa, because there's so much to the world. It's like a world that's been built, and you're trying to just learn everything you can about the world. And so I say all that to
Totally.
say one of the interesting things is the things that Terry would often nix from our recordings or from the things that we wanted to do were inside jokes. And I think that he said something to the effect of, well, people out there, when they're listening to albums like this, they don't like inside jokes. And so if I'd been brave enough, I probably would have said, "Well, Terry, isn't that kind of like all of your records have that stuff on them, dude?"
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
but
Do we the swirling eddies?
right,
Like
yeah,
honestly, the
it's
whole thing
pretty.
is an inside joke.
I think it just is an inside joke. The swirling eddies, that's all that it
Yeah,
is. But
yeah.
I was a kid. What do I know? So, but overall, it was an intimidating experience. We're recording at Pachyderm Studios, which is the Elefante brothers who produced,
Yeah.
were involved in
Dino
like
and John.
a
Yeah.
couple of the big Kansas records and some other stuff.
Yeah.
So that wasn't lost on us that, this is a big deal studio. Lots of things have happened here. And now here we are trying to do our little thing. but, but all that said, I mean, I guess I would say it was a mixed bag of experiences. There were parts of it that were really fun. I didn't feel um, like most of Jimmy's drums, I think he got in one take or two takes.
Oh, wow.
Some of my stuff, they had me do more than once, which I wasn't necessarily used to, but I didn't mind it either. Again, borrowed equipment. I'm using someone else's amp. I'm trying to play
Yeah.
a bass that I can't get it to sound the way that I want it to and don't know why. I mean, it's just that kind of stuff. But overall, I remember it being very fun and feeling very fortunate. Like, who gets to do this? Like at our age, like
I
who,
Yeah,
know.
So
yeah.
What? Yeah. Go
Oh,
ahead,
go
Dave.
ahead.
No, no. Go ahead, Dave.
No, I think as I went into that experience, so I said yes when you said was it intimidating? I said yes, it was intimidating, and I think like you don't know. Like I look back, I was so incredibly insecure. Like as a and
Yeah.
I knew next to nothing about the music industry. I mean, I'm just going
Mm,
to own that. I hadn't played as long as Bill or Jimmy or any of these guys, and I just came in and I was clueless.
yeah.
And I had bought into the Beatles model. Like we write the four of us, it's all original material. We don't do covers really. It's for the sake of the art. It's like that's
Yeah.
why we're doing this, and that's what it's about. And to have someone pick at and
Mm,
scale down and critique and change and rearrange the work that you'd done, which was Terry's job, was to
mhm.
make it something that would actually sell, right? That was his job, quite frankly. And I think in my heart, I know how I felt. I resented it.
Mhm.
I just did not,
mm.
and I just didn't understand. Um, I still some of the things you said. I still remember Gene Eugene coming in to pick us up at the hotel, and I said to him because I just wanted to sound good or whatever. I said, I really like Homeboys. It helped me understand 10 songs much better. And he just looks at me like, you didn't understand 10 songs. So it's just
Wow.
this insecurity of like that I had at the time. And I just, I look
Wow.
back, it really is in my memories. It's painful. And we went in and I still remember the roughest session, the absolute hardest session, was recording Love Song, which is, that's the song. I wrote the lyrics for the song for that one. So I had this grand dream. The song is, if you ever saw us live, we said this almost every time because this because who we were at the time is I wrote the song about I worked night shift, and so I had this picture of this janitor who was so lonely working night shift that he imagined this woman, this perfect woman, and then in the morning she's not real. Like in the morning his job, like it's time to go home. And I was trying to write a really sad song, and we called it Love Song because it was a little tongue in cheek, and and so I'm working on it in the studio, and Terry, all those layers and
Yeah.
honestly, all the stuff that made it really, really great to listen to, I hated all of it. I'm owning it. Like I own it now. I was wrong. I was wrong. It is still the song that charted the highest. It
Yeah.
charted, it actually made it. I forget what it was, but it made it actually into the charts. And so but it's the only, he knew what he was doing. He knew what he
Yeah.
was doing, and he made it sound amazing. And I resented every moment of it because I did not know what I was doing.
Well, I
And
mean, yeah, you guys are young. It makes sense. Yeah.
I think
you're
I was maybe 20.
Yeah.
If
Wow.
I was 20, yeah.
Well, what was that like hearing it when it was finally done, and kind of how did you feel about it then, and how do you feel about it now looking back on it?
So we got the demo. I don't remember if you remember this.
Yeah.
We got the demo at Cornerstone 91. So now we're talking July 4th weekend. We got the first, I say demo, what do you call it? Scratch? The
It was
first
like a
copy of the recording.
It was a rough mix.
Rough mix.
Yeah.
And we were at the merchandise booth in the tent at Cornerstone, and we popped the cassette in and we listened. And I still remember to this day when it was done, I went, "That's terrible." I was like, I hate it. Like I can't stand. That's it. That's my part. I just remember still just being, and as a child, right, as 20, just being so childish in my heart of just the utter disappointment. And I'm just being honest. I don't feel that way
Sure.
about it now, but in the moment, I had this picture of how amazing it was going to be, and it really was pretty great. It was a lot, it was good, but just was not what I had pictured in my head.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
How do you?
I think we were probably universally disappointed with the mix. Would probably be one of the things.
Really?
Like even now when I go back and I listen to it, there are things that just like, man, just a little EQ changes some certain things in certain places would make this more listenable for me. But again, I think it's one of those things that it's sort of a little bit of a time capsule of its time as well. Some of the things that they were, kind of
Sure.
trying to do with it. So
Yeah. I mean, looking back on it now, I hear the critique in what you're saying, but are you proud of it? Are you guys both?
Yeah.
yeah, oh, totally.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Now we are. Yeah. You have to get perspective, right? I
Sure.
didn't have any at the time, and yeah, it was no, it was great to get it
Yeah.
out there, and I think from my standpoint, I remember when I was listening to it, I was thinking things that you just learn along the way. Is there was an evening session, Bill and I had to do it, was to go in and try to recreate the chaos that happened in Buddha Express is what the original demo was called. Turned out to be just Express, I think is what it's called on the album. But in the studio at Brian Fitz's studio in Raytown, Missouri, he had a dog that if you'd say who's a big who's a big dog or something like
Yeah.
that, right? He would bark and so we did all that. So there's just insanity happening. We're having a great time. It's all of us doing it. And we had to fit that insanity into one session at 10 o'clock at night when they could get the studio, and it was just Bill and I. I don't know where Jimmy
Yeah.
and Phil were. And there was just sort of this mopey, let's see if we can recreate it. So I think, my critique at the time was I was critiquing it against the demo
Yeah.
and the energy of the demo versus sort of the produced cleanliness of the recording. And so what I would say is that at this point that the sales and the fans and the folks like that That's what matters, right? It doesn't
Yeah.
matter what we think of it. That's what matters is that people loved it. We're just being honest
Yeah.
to the question that you asked. Yeah.
Absolutely. Totally understand it.
One thing and I would agree with that. I think the demo was such a surprise to us, and the mix on the demo, we always loved the mix on it. We felt like it was really good balance of the band. Like you could hear everything, but at the same time a bunch of parts making a whole.
Sure.
And I think that there were things about the mix on StruggleFish that it just felt like it didn't have either enough depth or enough bottom, just kind of the things. And, of course, we're also comparing it to a lot of the music that we're listening to at the time. We're holding that up against,
Yeah.
Faith No More and
Yeah.
Mr. Bungle, Jane's Addiction, any of those, mini bands and we're like we want these things to be on the same level, and we didn't feel like that they were. But all of that said, we were extremely proud of it, I think. I mean, I think we were proud that it happened.
Yeah.
All of the, the stress of the very last part of it for me was while they're finishing up like vocals and things, I'm out there trying to handwrite all the lyrics and things because I had a very specific vision for kind of what I wanted that to be. And so I'm going through and I'm like writing all of it in my weird handwriting and kind of trying to do color charts because at the time I didn't have access to a computer. So I'm trying to leave notes for people who are actually going to put this thing together.
Wow.
So some of that stuff was like the last minute stress of the album for me. But then when we got it, I was like, man, this is so cool to have like my artwork on something that lots of people are going to see. So for me, that was kind of a little added bonus.
Very cool.
Here's the rest of the story for Love Song then, because some of you may not have known what I meant when I was telling the story, is that the final thing for Love Song is that when I flew home and Phil stayed and recorded vocals, and somehow in the midst of all of that, the key vocal was this one line. It faded, and she faded with the morning, which like brings the whole story around, tells the story that maybe this whole thing about this love story and all this isn't real. That lyric never made it onto the album. We do not know why still to this day. And so that became the song that we played for couples. It got played at weddings. It got like, it was supposed to be this tongue-in-cheek, like
sad,
sort of cynical, sad song. And for me as an artiste, I was just like, oh my gosh, what just happened? Like, I still remember that here. Like, Phil, where's the lyric? Like, he's like, I don't know. I don't know what that is. Like, so we still don't know what happened to this day. It was funny though. But I mean, now we laugh about it.
Right.
Like then I was probably not laughing then, but it's hilarious.
I bet.
It's probably tracked on a reel somewhere, and that just got like that mixer just got bumped down for that part or whatever,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Phil says it. I think almost every time we played it after that, Phil would start it with, "This is a song about loneliness," and then we would play.
Oh wow.
Play the whole song live. Yeah.
So the record comes out, and do you hit the road at all, or are you guys just playing regional, or what's that like?
Yeah, it's mostly around.
Regional.
Yeah.
We went up to Seattle. Was that was StruggleFish, wasn't it? We went up to Seattle.
I don't remember.
Port Angeles.
I don't remember if that was for StruggleFish or not. Yeah, that was kind of a cool story, but some dudes that liked our band just brought us out to play their high school so that they could open for us.
That's amazing.
It was amazing. It was such a cool trip, man. They were so kind to us.
Yeah.
That's rad.
That
That's
was
very cool.
We got to play IzFest on that one as well, somewhere in there. That was awesome in Georgia, Atlanta. That was a great show to get to play. And I still remember one of my favorite moments is we were walking home. We drove home that night, drove all night long to get back to Kansas City. And as we were walking by, there was this little plywood stage, and there was this band playing there, and it was Prayer Chain.
Yeah.
Prayer Chain was playing on this little stage, and they were brand new. They were just like half a year behind us or so.
And they were killing it, man.
They were
so
great.
Yeah.
They were awesome.
Such a good band. That's so cool.
We got to play with them a couple times. Yeah, we enjoyed those
Very
guys a lot.
cool. Was the label really stoked on the record?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think they would have liked it if it had sold 100,000 copies.
Sure.
But
Wouldn't we all?
Yeah.
yeah,
No. I mean, it sounds like, it sounds like it's not exactly what you wanted overall, but you know, having that thing in your hand and that tangible product, I'm sure still felt amazing and still felt incredible.
Yeah. And,
you know,
and I hope you don't come away from it thinking that, I mean, we were pleased with it. It wasn't, I mean, there were.
No, it's okay, Bill. You don't have to defend it because this is a redemption story. Because the second album,
which we're getting to, yes,
the second album. So, you know, I mean, from a record label standpoint, apparently we sold enough copies to warrant a second album because they had right of first. Like they could have said, "Hey, thanks, no thanks."
Yeah. Well, let's talk about.
We sold. What did we sell?
I don't remember at all.
28, I think 28,000 on the first.
Wow, that's amazing. Actually,
I think it was 28,000. I think it's basically on both, but
that's incredible.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Jeremy with the Rumors Are True podcast. Are you looking to spice up your meals with something real? Introducing Voyager Hot Sauce. Born in Seattle, rooted in the heart of Jalisco, Mexico, and built on community, quality, and excellence. Crafted in fresh small batches with agave nectar for the perfect sweet heat. Voyager is more than just a hot sauce. It's a symbol of gathering, authentic connection, and flavor that brings people together. Whether it's tacos, eggs, pizza, or cocktails, Voyager goes on everything. Head over to VoyagerHotSauce.com to hear their story, explore recipes, and place your order today. Well, let's talk about MagentaMantaLoveTree. Love this record. This is the one that was my favorite of the two. Talk me through this record, recording this. What was that like? It sounds like a redemption story of sorts that you just mentioned. So yeah, bring me through the recording of this record.
I think our spirit as a band is like when we created StruggleFish and it came out, we're like, okay, this is great. And immediately we're like, we could do better.
Yeah.
And so that's it. That's like our whole attitude is not better than the studio, not really even blaming them or the record label or any of that. Just saying like this just means that the next one can be better. Right. And so we started writing immediately. So most of the songs that appear on Magenta were being written before StruggleFish even released. A lot of them were.
Wow.
We were just plowing straight through.
Yeah.
I still remember sitting in your bedroom working on in Bill's bedroom working on Bus Drivers on Crack, that song, and it's a title for you. but
it's a holding pattern title.
Things,
and I think one of the really fun things about this band has always been that everyone contributes. So, you know, you bring, you'll show up for practice and you might have something, but more often than not, everyone's got something and it's going to be really good. And so sometimes it's like, okay, let's work on your thing. Other times it's like, hey, these things go together. Sometimes people brought in pretty much fully formed songs and everyone would just contribute. So, you know, it may originate with one person, but it was definitely a collaborative effort. And that's kind of how we always approached it.
And as a musician, you had to be mature enough. Like if you knew if you brought something, it wasn't going to be what you had in your head. Like it was going to, it may start with that, but it was going to be changed and morphed.
Yeah.
And so we really did have, I mean, I don't want to sound pretentious, but it was gestalt. It was the concept of like what we created together was something that none of us would have created on our own.
For sure.
Yeah.
Because everyone contributed. So it was very Beatlesque in that sense. Like there was, some primary songwriters, but everybody contributed. And so I remember Bill brought the title track. He brought Magenta Manta. I still remember trying to catch the sync of like the na 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 na, that thing.
Yeah.
Rhythm's not always been the greatest, which is why it was wonderful to have a solid rhythm section. I've not always been the greatest at rhythm, and so that just took a little while to learn. But that's literally what we're doing. Like he's like, no, follow me. We're playing it, and it gels. And I know I personally, and I think Bill and I have this in common. I personally, like as a Led Zeppelin fan, what is and what should not be. Or what is it? What should never be? Sorry. Anyway, Stairway to Heaven. I like songs. Oh, going back to Uriah Heep, July Morning. Clocking in at 9.5 minutes. Like we love these long songs.
Yeah.
And so this was our first one where like StruggleFish had been a little long because of its arrangement. We'd had the big breakdown and everything, so it had gone on for a while. But this was like, for us, was like a steak. Like,
Hmm.
it was an opportunity to really savor something. And so still probably my favorite DigHayZoose song is that title track. Loved playing it, loved recording it, loved everything about it.
Oh,
I
go ahead.
Yeah, and I recently I scored it out, and it's 11, or no, it's 12/8, no, 11/8, 12/8. Like there's not hardly any 4/4
Wow.
in any of the music that we did, which I loved, but that was but that one was just amazing. Anyway, you were saying, Bill?
I was going to say that was always really fun to play live because that 9 minutes would stretch out to 15 or depending on what was going to happen and we had several songs that live anyway, we used those as sort of opportunities to just kind of, play around and see if we could amuse each other
Sure.
a lot of times. But that one was always really fun because it went as long as it felt like it should go, and inevitably multiple people would get involved on the drum set, and it was it was kind of funny.
Yeah,
So
Who
I
did
do
you
want
record
to.
Magenta with?
I'm sorry, what?
What's that?
Who did you record with Magenta with?
So that was
Gene
yeah,
Eugene.
Gene Eugene.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And so that was our request for the next record. Like we would really like to record this album with Gene and have him engineer it if he could do both. Um, and at the time, who was his studio engineer? It was the dude that worked with Mortal. What was his name?
Oh,
oh
Mark
yeah,
Rodriguez.
that's him.
Yes,
Yep, Mark
yeah.
Yeah.
Rodriguez.
Great dude, by the way. Like one of the best people, especially for like young kids. That's like, hey, man, this is kind of what we want to do here, and what we want it to sound like. He's like, yeah, I can make that happen, and he was just very inventive. Um,
Yeah.
he'd just gotten a new device, and who knows what it's actually called, but he had this box that he said, yeah, so for this thing, what we can do, I got it from Mortal, but we can actually throw sound out of phase. So when people are listening to it in their headphones, it might sound like it's here, or might sound like it's here, or whatever. And so for a lot of the samples on that record, he used some of his magical tricks so that they would, kind of
That's so
placing
rad.
things sort of before the era of, Dolby Atmos and some of those things. But yeah, he was a
Yeah.
great guy.
Now I still remember recording, and we were actually recording Magenta, and I'd been playing guitar maybe 5 or 6 years at this point, and I was not what I would call a virtuoso, and didn't really fully like I wasn't a master of my instrument, and I loved. So in a Fender Strat, which is what I was playing, there's the bridge position is the bright heavy metal position. It's the one that
Yeah.
Deliverance always plays in, right? So it's that bright heavy metal crunch position. I just loved it, and I still remember we laid like 2 or 3 tracks of guitar, and then Mark Rodriguez said like, "Hey, don't you want to switch to your neck position, which gives you a richer, fuller tone?" And I was like, "No, no, I don't." I don't. And so we didn't. And of course, I was like, "Yeah, should have listened to the engineer. He was right. He was right." But it still sounded great. Like I said, I still love the recording.
Mhm.
So what Gene did for us, so it was entirely different.
Oh yeah.
Um,
I bet.
is Gene was well, we came away saying Gene was executive producer, and the album was co-produced by DigHayZoose because he basically would get us queued up with Mark, and then he would go do something else. Like he'd disappear and
Wow.
he'd just let us run with the studio, recording the songs. Like he kind of made sure we stayed on track, but he was definitely an artist, right?
Mhm.
Like so that was the thing. Like he cared. So we really vibed with that a lot of he's an artist, we're artists, and he's letting us do our thing.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so the reason that album, like for us, that album we loved it so much is because if you want to know what DigHayZoose really sounds like, it's that album.
Yeah.
Magenta, Manta Love Tree, that's what we sound like. That was us running amok, um, just having a good time recording. And uh, yeah, it was just a lot of fun to do that one.
Did it turn out the way you guys wanted it to?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
And
love
and
that.
much to the dismay, there's a Ren and Stimpy laugh on there.
I
Before
have
Ren and Stimpy was brand new, right at the time, right?
oh, I have
But
a I
yeah,
have
go
a
ahead.
story about that actually. So
Yeah, yeah.
um so I had loaded this cassette with just things that I thought we might want to use on the album, samples and things. And so I had tons of like children's records and just all these different things that I pulled stuff off of thinking I'm going to use this. You know, I would make mixtapes for people all the time. So I kind of had this little library of things that I just built up or that I would stash away for this record thinking I want to knit this thing together so that it's kind of like this one complete work is my goal. So we go to the studio, and while I'm finished with my tracking and stuff, and so Gene sets me up with a DAT recorder, and he's like, "Okay, you need to go through. You need to kind of pull off the samples, and you need to try and decide maybe what the run list is going to be, and let me know. I need you to make me a chart of where all these things are going to go." So I went through and I did that, and then we kind of just had to leave it in their hands and trust that when mastering time came, that they would put everything where it needed to go, and they did. They did a really great job. But then it was probably a week or two before the album was supposed to come out. I get this frantic call from Dave Palmer at BAI, and he's like, "Bill," it's like, "Yes." He goes, "Dude, the samples on this album." I was like, "Yeah, yeah. What about them?" Dave is like, "What are they?" And I was like, "Well, what do you mean?" He's like, "Dude, we don't have clearance for any of these. Wait,
Oh my
no one
gosh.
gave me a list. No one gave me anything, man. Do you know what these are?" I was like, "Yeah, I have notes for all of them. The ones I don't know, I can figure out." So there were a couple I think that David provided. I think Jimmy had provided one. So we got together and I was able to send him a complete list, which, it's just one of those funny little things. And so that could have crashed and burned. Like
Yeah.
if Mr. Rogers decided he didn't like his cut on there, which I guess he did because
Yeah.
he approved it, but yeah, that could have been a
That's
disaster
hilarious.
actually.
I'm assuming they didn't ask Nickelodeon about Ren and Stimpy, but
Probably.
anyway, yeah. But yeah, that was, and we did have to we had to give up the rights for, was it Hate Machine, right? We had to give up the rights for that because we did the Doors in the middle. So we know that the
Wow.
Doors actually, the surviving members listened to the track and gave it the thumbs
Yeah,
up.
Wow, that's pretty
that's the
awesome.
cool part of the story because everyone in the Doors, and there were all but Jim were alive at that point, and their whole thing contractually was anything that was going to go out that was either a cover or whatever, they had to hear it, and everybody had to be in agreement that it could be used, which we didn't know until
Yeah.
somebody said, "Oh, that's not you guys," and so
Yeah.
but apparently they were on board with it because it's on there, so
How'd that
Yeah.
make you guys feel having that vote of
it's kind of
confidence?
cool.
That was
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think we were, in general, we really did reach the status of annoying artist for the actual record company because we were contracted for a 45-minute disc, which was the normal size disc at that time.
Yeah.
We were 60 minutes.
Hmm.
Oh, they were like, "Oh my gosh, you guys
Oh
were
yeah.
supposed to come in under 40 or under 60." We had samples that we didn't have approved. And the music was all over the place,
Yes.
which we loved, right?
Yes.
Like we had basically done whatever we wanted to do, and we loved every minute of it. And so it really was for DigHayZoose. It was a redemption story of sort of a more traditional approach to StruggleFish,
Hmm.
and then this more artistic approach
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
MagentaMantaLoveTree.
Grandiose. Grandiose.
Well, I
Yes.
think there's a big difference too. Once you've done something the first time, you kind of know what it's going to be
Yep.
like, and so you can
Yep.
sort of have your head in the right mind frame for it and plan for it and know what you need to plan for and all of that. So, I mean,
Yeah.
everything from the artwork, to the music was all us. I mean, the sculpture on
Yeah.
the front,
Amazing.
those are our real faces that we cast in plaster and clay and made a sepulcher, all that stuff.
It's crazy.
And
Yeah.
just because we love the idea of just being sort of this fully immersive band. And we tried to do that with the live shows too, in the sense that, we wanted the stage we would put things on stage. We had parts of the show where things would happen. And I think that, from our standpoint, we wanted people to kind of be immersed in whatever it was that we were trying to do. So
Sure. Sure. Was the label stoked on it?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so. Once they got past maybe the finance division, not so much, but yeah, I think
Did you
the
go
rest
over
of them
budget?
probably.
Well, Gene was involved.
I don't
I'm not
actually
sure.
know.
I'm not sure how much. Not sure how much Gene was really managing that. So it's hard to say. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're very proud of this record.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on it, looking back on it.
I'm still proud of it.
Yeah.
I'm still surprised
Yep.
when I don't listen to it all the time, but when I do listen to it, um, it's gonna sound weird, but there are things that surprise me. Is like I can't believe that we did that. I can't believe that we wrote that, or I can't
Yeah.
believe that we made that choice.
Crazy.
That's such a cool choice, or whatever it is. I mean, we really tried to write music that we would listen to, that we would enjoy, and so
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
Yeah, I
Dave.
still my favorite DigHayZoose songs are on that album. I like Slatherage and Magenta Manta are probably my favorites of all time, and I just love them. I still remember dancing in concert when we were mixing it. Gene's comment. I don't know if you remember this. Gene was mixing it down. We were still there, and he said we said talking about how much we liked it. I think it was Jimmy and I at the point. Or no, it was you and me, Bill. It was you and me at the time. And he goes, "Yeah, I don't really dig that Rush thing." Like we were like,
what?
"You just recorded our album." Okay, there's always little funny comments. And I still remember being, so we played Cornerstone that year on the actual what's that stage called? Main stage? Or
Yeah,
not main stage, but
Impromptu?
indoor
it was
stage.
the indoor stage.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, indoor stage. We played that one. And I still remember being in the merch tent, and there was one of the record folks was there, and they didn't know me, I didn't know them, and I was like, so hey, what'd you think of this new DigHayZoose album? And he goes, it's pretty good if you like that kind of thing. I still remember like, you were supposed to say how amazing it is. We poured our heart and our soul into it. Like,
Wow. That's
Like
amazing.
how I really did. I really, in all honesty, thought, how could someone not like this album? It is a work of that. Like it is a work of art. Were we proud of it? Yes, we were proud of it. Yes.
That's amazing. I'm gonna go on. I'm gonna tell you my favorite song, which is not on this record. Keep Me in Mind, the Browbeat song
Oh, yeah.
is such a good
Yeah.
song. I want you to talk about that. I failed to mention that earlier when we were talking, but yeah, what was that like doing that? And man, what a memorable song.
So that was,
Yeah.
as I recall, a very last minute kind of, hey, we have this compilation album we're doing. Would you guys want to be on it? It's like a acoustic alternative thing. We're like, yeah, that'd be great. Okay, well, we need you to get us a song within like the next week or something. I mean, I just remember the turnaround
Wow.
was crazy, and so. But doing it and putting it together was really fun. I'm super proud of that song too. In fact, I think that song was probably a glimpse of what the future of DigHayZoose might have been. Not necessarily acoustic, but just the sense that all the guys in this band loved music and loved lots of kinds of music. And so I truly think that we did some acoustic shows in like record stores and things whenever. Uh, was that with Magenta? I think it was. But we
Yeah.
always loved those kinds of challenges. We just anything like that was going to really test us. We enjoyed that, and so anything from I had to borrow an upright bass, a student model upright bass
Yeah.
from a guy, and it was not a good bass, and so they struggled to like mic it. I mean, it's so quiet in the studio, like all of the things that make it challenging. But that said, we went into the studio to do that and we kind of had a map, but then some of the other things just kind of happened as we were there, like the vocal parts and things that are really fun about it.
Yeah.
um but I think it shows another side of sort of who we are. So yeah, I like that song a lot too.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. That's one of my favorites as well. Yeah.
I always loved the All Us for Not Nod. I always thought that was so cool.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
and again, like just describing that, like all the little extra things in it. It really, if you take away the heavy guitars and stuff, it really is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful song, and it's memorable.
Thank you.
On that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that record is phenomenal, and every song on that record's incredible.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's awesome. I was like looking through and I was like, oh yes, I totally forgot that was on there. What was the touring like for Magenta? Did you mentioned Cornerstone, obviously. Were you still doing regional? Were you getting to play with any secular bands? What was that like?
Yeah. So we continued to play as much as we could, and we probably played a couple shows a month, not a full by any schedule, like professional band.
Sure.
Because most of us, I was still working. Like I never stopped working the entire time DigHayZoose was playing. I worked night shift at Hallmark and just kept doing what I was doing. It was perfect. You worked Sunday night through Thursday night. You got up on Friday morning. anywhere you could get to within 8 hours, you were in great shape. So
Yeah.
we played
Yeah.
Dallas, we played Oklahoma, we played trying to think of all the places. Played those a lot. We went down that way a lot. So we played it whatever we could get, and we had a manager who was booking shows for us, Tim Cook,
Hmm.
Oh, yeah.
not the CEO of Apple. So
Yeah. From
yeah,
Bartlesville,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, from Bartlesville, yeah,
He just
yeah.
passed
So
away, I
he
think.
did. Yes.
oh
Yeah.
ah,
Yeah.
I need to hear. I have not heard
Yeah.
that. Okay,
Yeah. So he
yeah. So
and so part of that deal, what I remember is I was in college at the time, and it was in between my junior and senior year, and Tim was priming us to say, "Hey guys, you really need a tour. We need to get you on a tour." Like that's what all the talk was. And so I decided to take a hiatus for a year off of school, thinking we're going to be so busy, we're going to have all these things that we need to do, and I think that that started to happen. Like he was starting to put it together, and I don't remember why it fell apart, but there was a something happened, and it kind of fell apart, and so
yeah,
it ended up being just sort of like more singular shows versus any kind of a
Mm.
tour of the states or anything. Um,
yeah,
and so the funny story there is, my dad's a very practical man, and he was very supportive of the band. It wasn't his thing, as far as the kind of music, but he was very proud of it. And so I'm at home, because I'm not at school. And he's like, "Well, you're not just going to sit around here and do nothing." So that was my introduction into outdoor construction work, and I got to dig some ditches in the August heat. And I think his whole
Oof.
point with it was you need to make sure you go back to school. He never said that, but that was the point. And I
it
did.
worked.
It
It
did.
worked, didn't it? And
Yes.
he did. And
Yes. Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
and so we played a lot of shows. So the band we played the most with, I think, over the years was Scattered Few.
Hmm.
We played
Oh,
we played
love
at least
Alan.
four or
Yeah.
five shows with those guys,
Yeah,
That's
Rocket Town in
awesome.
all over the
Nashville,
place.
right? We played
Yeah,
Rocket Town
Yeah.
with them. I remember
yeah,
that
Rocket
one.
Town. We played our home base. So in Kansas City, very famous coffee house was the New Earth Coffee
New Earth.
House
Yep.
with
Yep.
Sheldon Kelvig and the crew. And so we played there. So there is something very satisfying. We packed out the place, 700 people
Wow.
in our hometown. And so that was probably to date, my most satisfying show is where you're like, wow, this many people came out to see us at
Incredible.
home.
Hmm.
Because a lot of bands are sort of known for like small crowds at home because they've been playing here for a long time and then they go out and play to bigger crowds.
Yeah.
We played at Dallas with Scattered Few. We played in Shreveport with Prayer Chain.
Hmm.
Oh,
We
wow.
played with them a couple times. I'm trying to think of some of the other bands we played with. Deliverance and
Yeah, and Bartlesville,
oh, and White
White
Cross. We played
Cross.
with White Cross
Ooh,
in
yeah.
Bartlesville. Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah. So we
Yeah,
played a
Very
lot of
cool.
those shows all over, but it was mostly whatever we could get to within
yeah.
an 8-hour drive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, that makes sense.
yeah.
Is that kind of why you decided to do a live record? Like what was the thought process on not doing another full length? And yeah, bring me through why. And Ascension 7, of course, Rocket Ship to Heaven, it's amazing, live record.
So,
But what bring me through that?
so Bill, is this where I tell the tragic story?
Yeah, go ahead.
Icarus flew too close to the
Oh
sun. No,
no.
we're just going to own it because that was then and this is now. We really thought we were pretty amazing, and we really felt like I'm not sure what our deal was with the label with Brainstorm. We're not 100% sure how it soured, but we felt like as the artists we were not getting like the treatment that we deserved.
They weren't really,
Um,
I mean, we felt like the promotion, there just wasn't enough happening as far as promotion was concerned with the album was part of it too. And some of that had to do, I mean, Tim was our manager at the time. We were the first band that he'd ever managed, but part of the reason that we asked him was because he had connections and we felt like he was a pretty wise guy. And so I think he had a lot of people talking to him too that were saying things like, well, my guys are doing this, or my guys are doing this, or you should have
yeah,
your dudes do this. So I'm not laying the blame at his feet or anything. I'm just saying I think that
no,
there were conversations that were happening and we were just kind of dissatisfied. Like we feel like we could do more, and we were very antsy, like we were
yeah,
raring to go. But all that said,
but
uh, we just decided, hey, we got to get off this label. And I don't know why we
yeah,
decided that. It's pretty stupid in hindsight, but
But we did. And let me just say for the listeners, you should never break a contract with a label unless you have another contract lined up.
Yeah.
And it's just you look back at it and you go, what were we thinking? It is like quitting your job without having another job lined
up. Yeah.
And I have a sense, I don't know this for a fact, but the Christian rock music label community was not that big.
They all talk to each other.
So they all talk to each other.
That's the second lesson, kids.
Amazingly enough, we struggled to find another contract. And so as hard as it is to admit it, that's who we were then. We know better now for sure. But that's part of how we know it.
Yeah.
Right? That's part of how you learn. You learn from the things that you do. But we really thought we could find a better deal. We thought, and the scene was changing already. Korn had come out. Like when I look back at that time, like the music was changing, and we were changing too. But it was we had our window. Our window where what we were doing was like something that people loved. And not everybody gets that. So for us, we're very grateful that we got to do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. My only regret in all of that would be just there were so many songs that we demoed up for what was to come that never really got like the treatment that I would, they deserved in my opinion. Just like it would have been really cool to go in and finish all of that music and have it be something versus these really terrible like 8-track basement recordings and demos. I think there were a lot of seeds of things there that could have been really good, but all, live and learn. I mean, we were impetuous young men. So,
yes,
sure.
Yes,
sure. What was the live record just a way to essentially get out of the contract?
Yeah, it was to fulfill the agreement, and I mean, and part of it too. We had already been talking about finding a way to document the Cornerstone show. We'd all grown up with sort of the lore of Cornerstone, and it was sort of a big deal to all of us. And so our thought was, if we could preserve this, maybe we could do something with it. And that kind of grew into the idea of, well, what if we actually recorded a live record at Cornerstone and released it? And Tim had a lot to do with that idea. So,
yeah.
How
do you feel about the way it turned out?
I mean, it's a live album, warts and all. It's all there. We really wanted to. In recording it, we really wanted to not have it be some situation, where we're going back in and retracking a ton of stuff or anything.
Overdub,
We wanted to just be kind of the live raw, because that was one of the things too, for people that hadn't seen us live, we felt, I'll just speak for myself, I always felt like that was a whole different animal than the record. Like the record is this thing, but seeing us live, I always felt like, felt a little like you didn't know what was going to happen, and which we loved. Like we kind of thrived on that. We didn't sometimes even know what was going to happen. We had structures for songs, but anyone could choose to do something different. And when they did, everyone had to respond to that. And so there were things that happened live that made it a lot of fun. But sometimes I wonder if it was just more fun for us than it was for everyone out there that was having to endure it.
I was going to say,
I get
earlier we were talking about the long versions of Magenta Manta. It's like, we need to apologize. I think it was Bartlesville, where we did a 30-minute intentionally. We knew we were going to do a 30-minute version.
That's incredible.
Of Magenta. And
they stuck with us, though.
In retrospect.
They stuck with us.
They did.
They were there.
That's hysterical.
But please forgive us.
Yeah. we might want to issue an actual written statement on that one. Just
go ahead,
one more story.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No,
and then
absolutely.
Our other favorite, we were in Columbus, Ohio, and we'd been hired by a church, I think, to play that one. And we did a riff, and it was actually a pretty decent riff on what's the song that's the choir? Oh man, it's off our first album. We ripped off the choir. Which one?
A sentimental song?
No.
I'm trying to remember. I wish
one of our songs.
I
can't remember the name of the song. Anyway, it's the one that has a diminished chord at the very beginning of it. So we riffed on a diminished chord, which is the devil's interval, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, I still remember we riffed for probably a solid 10 minutes on that song. And when it was all done, we had like the youth pastor coming up demanding his money back for his youth group. And like, it's like, those are the good times where we're like, come on, man, that was just fun. Like, it was...
That's hysterical. I'm sure that happened more than once, having some youth pastor or a church, either stiff you or be like, oh, is this really Christian? Whatever you want to call it. I'm
sure that didn't do an altar call at the end of the concert.
Yeah.
Like, no, we didn't. You're right.
Yeah, absolutely. You alluded to wanting to get off the label, which you obviously regret.
We were successful.
we did it. We did it.
Did
Way to
that
go,
lead
guys.
to the end? Did that lead to the end of the band? Talk me through the end of the band.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it did. I mean,
Yeah.
it did end after
We
that.
we tried for another, 9 months probably, and it was me. I'm the one who quit. So I'm the one who quit the band, and I had reached a point where my wife, and this is how these things go. So we got married in '91, or '92, and we had reached a point where we were ready to have kids. And my wife knew well that she'd tolerated my band wife for quite some time, because it was a big part of my life playing in DigHayZoose. And we decided that, and we pursued a little bit of a label thing. Eddie DeGarmo did not think we were that amazing, and so he didn't want to offer us a record contract. And so I still remember we had the conversation on the phone. We were like, okay, well, we're just going to go in and do another studio demo and see if we can get signed again. And I was like, you know what, I'm just not going to do that. And so I am a little sad. It was best band I played with. I did get to go on, and I played in a band for another 2 years with Dion Tyler from Hopping Turtle. We played another band, but that band just wasn't the same. It was a very different type of band, and you just make those decisions. I don't regret it, because we went on to have kids, and that's my life from that point. I was eventually called into ministry, so I know that these things all flows. But yeah, I was the first one to go. I just honestly didn't feel like I could do it anymore. We ground it out for so long, and that's probably all there is to that part of the story.
Was that difficult to walk away from that? And did you? I'm sure your identity at that time was wrapped up in the band and whatnot.
Yeah.
Was that difficult to do? And then after you answer, Bill, what was that like for him leaving?
Yeah. No, it was difficult, and there's a little bit of a story I told myself that, hey, I'm David Anderson from DigHayZoose, so I'll just join some other bands, or go and play, and people want to play with me. And the truth is that the thing that we had was the thing we had in DigHayZoose. That's what was special. And so when I went out on my own, tried to do things, it just wasn't the same. It didn't work. It just didn't have the same energy or the same. I didn't even like it that much, I'm like, so it was a little, it was definitely going out. Like I said, I think still as I look back over my life, absolutely the right decision in that season of my life.
Sure.
But yeah, I do miss it. Yeah.
Yeah. Bill, what was that like when he left?
So we had, at that point, and for some time when Magenta came around, we had Dave playing, but then we would also have a second guitarist, just because a lot of the things that we needed to do on stage, it was hard for one person with two arms and hands to do. So, so a friend of ours, Jeremy Walla, had played with us for a while, and then because of family obligations, having kids, kind of the same stuff, he wasn't able to do it. And that's kind of where we were talking about maybe trying to tour, do different things, and he just wasn't able to. So a friend of mine, Zoop, who I've mentioned, came on as a second guitarist, and that was when Dave was still with us. And so we kind of did a few shows that way. And then when Dave left, we just thought, okay, well, maybe this is time to try something different. And so that's why we were trying to, okay, we're going to be DigHayZoose. We called ourselves Infrared. We took a lot of those same songs. We went and recorded a demo for those in Iowa, and kind of pushed as much as we could, but it's sort of like the transverse of the beginning of the story. The beginning of the story, everything was easy. The end of the story, everything was hard, man. We felt like no one would listen to us. A lot of the people that we used to talk to in the industry were either gone or they moved on to different types of positions and things. So there wasn't a ton of people. And again, I think all those guys talk. It was not a great idea. But all of that being said, I think just the music too that we were making, part of what I've always thought made DigHayZoose strong was the fact that, what Dave to me he brings a lot of things to the band, but he always he had a very definite kind of a pattern or path that he wanted to follow. He likes to bring dissonance into things. A lot of the chord choices and things that he does will kind of push, the band in maybe what you would say is like a dark direction, right? Like he's sort of the chiaroscuro kind of thing. And my sensibilities are sort of more on the side of kind of like pop or like, sort of something funky or something weird. And so it was always this counterpoint. And I know Dave was thinking it too, where Dave would be playing this and I'd say, okay, well, what am I going to put next to that makes sense for me, but isn't exactly the same thing? What's my response? And I think that tension, for lack of a better word, really made the music what it was. It's like it kind of was all being pulled in different directions, but somehow there was enough glue that it stuck together. And so I would say that, Zoop is a phenomenal musician. I've known him since I was 12. He was in the country gospel group with me. He was the drummer at the time. And he's a great guitar player. I'm playing with him now. But what he brought to the table, it was just different. It was a different method and a different sort of approach. And so it didn't make the music bad. It was just different. And so we kind of got down that path for a while. And then Zoop came to me and said, "Hey, man, I'm going to leave the band. This isn't, I don't know that this is exactly what I want to do with the rest of my musical life or the near future. I kind of have some other things in mind." And I said, "Well, if you're quitting, I'm not sure that I want to keep doing this. I mean, we were all kind of worn out. We all were starting families, all of those things. And so I quit the band at that, where we just kind of disassembled would be a better way to say it. Everyone just said, yeah, maybe we just need to not do this." And so Zoop and I immediately just started writing music at my house just for fun. And that's kind of all it was going to be. It's like, we're just going to do this for fun. We're going to write songs together and have fun, no pressure or anything like that. And for me, that really scratched my musical itch. I was also playing on the worship team at my church at that time, which required a lot. I didn't really have anywhere to give, like in my life. Every like weekends, it was all taken at that point. So practically speaking, I didn't really have enough to even pursue if we were really going to do something with DigHayZoose. I didn't have any place to draw that time from anymore. So
was that an adjustment, and how did that feel stepping away from that? I know it sounds like you're busy at the time, but I mean, that was such a big part of your life,
I mean, it was sad. I hadn't, during the formative years, most of my college career, that's just what I did. We'd have band practice and we'd hang out. We were all friends too. So we didn't just play music together. We hung out together, our wives, and we would go out and eat together and all that stuff. And so it sort of just all ended at once. And it was sad. But I also knew it was the right thing to do, I guess is how I would say it. There was the band always caused tension, I think, in relationships, as bands do, as far as like, your external relationships, like, oh, we're going to go play this thing. It's like, well, what about me, or what about this, or what about, those kinds of things. So that's a very real thing. And I think when you're younger, it's easier to just sort of, press on, do that stuff. But as you get older, I think your priorities change. I think you start to see things differently. And, again, totally. If we'd sold 100,000 copies on those first two records, it might be a different conversation. But the truth of the matter was we didn't. So,
yeah.
Sure. How do you guys feel about the mark that you made, the legacy that you guys have as the band DigHayZoose? What are your thoughts on the impact that you've probably had on a lot of people? Just curious, your thoughts on that.
Yeah. I think we really captured like a niche part of the music scene, and it really was. There was a window of time, 92 to 94, where what we were doing was like cutting edge, was right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I think we did, especially with Magenta Manta, we captured that little space, where that's what it sounded like in 1992. That's what was happening. It's all of what was happening in one album. And so, so when I look at it, I'm proud of the creativity. I have learned so much, that I still use in my life from the band, of like, when I have coworkers, sometimes I get annoyed because I want to collaborate. Like I'm like, I want to collaborate because I've seen over and over again what happens when everybody gives what they have. You create this thing that no one person could have created on their own. And so I just think we really captured that moment of that 1992, 1993 moment. And so,
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think collaboration is a strength that I came away with for sure from the band, being able to work with people, but also work through. I mean, sometimes you have to sacrifice as part of collaboration. You have to sacrifice. You have to kill your darlings,
Yeah.
right? Isn't that what the writers say?
that's right.
So it's like
Yeah.
Yeah.
I might have this fully formed thing that I bring to the meeting, but at the end of the day, the best idea wins. At least we hope so. And so,
Yeah.
but far as impact, that's hard for me to say because I don't know that I see that necessarily. I mean, it's really cool to meet somebody that knows who we were. Like that's always a surprise to me, or somebody that is jazzed about that. That continually surprises me. Because we're just a bunch of normal punks. I mean, we just, we're just guys, but I also remember feeling that way when I met Gene Eugene, or when I met,
Yeah.
Yeah.
the guys in the 77s, or Joe Taylor, or, on down the list. Like those guys
Yeah.
were our heroes for a long, long time in some regard, and not to say that we are for someone else,
Yeah.
but I think that there's something about music that occupies a space in our lives that is different than anything else. And so I know, like, the albums that I listen to and the songs that I can still go back to, and I know exactly what I was doing, or when, like, my heart was broken at this time, or I listened to this because of this reason. And so if there are people out there that have that same connection with our music, I mean, that's totally an honor. It's like most
Yeah.
people haven't gotten to do any of the things that we've gotten to do with their music, so
Yeah.
I'm very grateful for that.
That's awesome. I love hearing that. Man, wouldn't it be cool to have Magenta on vinyl or something like that?
Yeah. Well, let me have another shot at that art direction, man. I'd be all over it.
Yeah.
Is that something that you guys have talked about at all?
It's come up, but not anything
Yes.
seriously.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we would, I think we'd be open to it. None of us
Yeah.
know how to do that, but might require some research.
Would you guys
Yeah.
would you guys ever play a show again?
I don't know about that. I mean,
Hard to say.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'd be open to it, but I'm still playing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that'd be cool.
well, how much are you offering?
know-
That's probably the.
Oh, not enough.
That's funny.
I'm a poor man.
Well,
What?
I want to give you one more story because we've skipped
Yeah.
the best live story yet. Come
Do
on,
it.
I have to talk about the Helter Skelter incident
yeah,
of Kansas
please
City.
do.
Yeah. So this is our hometown gig. We're playing with Scattered Few again
Was
at the
nice.
hometown in Kansas City
And that was Halloween
at
show,
the New
right?
Earth Coffee House.
Was that the Halloween
What's
show?
that?
That was a Halloween show, wasn't it?
I think it was a Halloween show, yeah. And we were playing, and Jeremy was in the band, so we had a second guitarist for that one. And so we were playing at New Earth Coffee House, and we were second band. There were three bands. I don't remember who the first band was, but we were the second band, and Scattered Few was the headliner. And we had just been dabbling with playing some other things, so we played "What Is and What Should Never Be" by Led Zeppelin, and we slipped that in there and played it.
Synchronicity
And then,
was in
yeah,
there
oh,
too.
did we play that one in there?
Yeah.
Yeah. We played we played some covers in there. And again, it's a packed house. There's a lot of people there. And then we played Helter Skelter. And we played the Beatles version. And so for those who may not know, so New Earth Coffee House was founded by a wonderful man named Sheldon Kelvig. He was a missionary to Kansas City. He started what was called the Church House, which is where all these bands played, in the basement of the church house. And his vision was to help folks get off the streets, help folks get out of drugs, help folks.
Yeah.
Like, he was a legitimate guy serving the community. He had a couple houses there, one for women, one for men in town, that his ministry is footing the bill. So they're like halfway house sort of thing.
That's awesome.
He's doing all of this, and he is straight out of the 60s. So he's a good 10 or 20 years older than us. And we are on his stage in his basement playing Helter Skelter, the Beatles version, not the Motley Crue version, the Beatles version. And he came up And it was still remember this day. He comes up and he's waving his hands left and right, like the cancel sign. He's like,
Yeah.
sorry guys. And he gets up in front of all of us and we got shut down. We got shut down
Ooh.
playing Helter
Hmm.
Skelter. Now, on one hand, as I matured and grew older, I actually reached out to Sheldon. I don't know if you did, but I
I
reached
did.
out to him and said, "Hey, man, sorry, man, we knew what we were doing. We were just being punks. Sorry about that." Apologized to him. But in the moment, that was so rock and roll. Like
Hmm.
we got shut down. Like
It's
we felt
legendary.
pretty good that evening. We felt pretty
I
good that evening.
bet.
We were like, "Yeah, that's right. That's what happens. You two rock and roll. You get shut down."
Well, and
That's
the
So
concept
hilarious.
for the show, since it was a Halloween show, we were doing covers because it was like you're putting on a costume, right? That was the idea. So
yeah.
we're throwing the covers in just for fun, just to do something different.
Yeah, totally.
And I don't think we expected that he was going to shut us down. We knew that it might be a little bit agitating to some people,
Did
which
I
we
didn't think he'd be happy. Yeah.
right,
Yeah,
we did like to poke the bear at times. I mean, I'll just be honest.
totally.
I mean, it's rock and roll, man, and we were punks. It's for sure. So those were some of the other things that were happening with that, and we just, yeah, hindsight being 2020, would I do it differently? I don't know. It's kind of a cool story.
That's awesome, guys.
Yeah.
Well, I know you guys cannot predict the future, but what do you think the future looks like for you guys individually?
Oh, Dave, you go first.
Okay. I don't really know at this point. So I've opened myself up to this whole pastor track, and so uh, somebody you might see me as your pastor somewhere here someday if you're attending United Methodist Church. So that's probably my future at this point. I'm not really playing music anymore. I went ahead and mostly put it down. I do some studio stuff here at the house, but as I've sort of weighed out my life, I really do. I mean, I just want to be honest. I want to respond to whatever God has for me to the best of my
Yeah.
ability. And so I felt about 2 years ago. I felt like, as weird as it may sound, I felt, for me, let me back up just a moment. Like my guitar playing, and I think the best guitarist I've ever been was probably about 10 years ago. I kept playing and practicing and everything. But some people have just like a natural gifting, can pick up an instrument, just play, and they whatever it is. I think it's gifting, right?
Sure.
And I'd say that I don't. I have some gifting. I understand arrangement, I understand music, but I have to work to be good. And
Yeah.
so I just had to come one day. I'm spending a half hour to an hour practicing every day just to stay up on my chops. And I'm looking at it and thinking, I just think God's calling me to do something else. I think I have to change the priority of my life, and it makes me sad because that's part of the reason. Like, if we got back together right now, it would take me 6 months to get up to speed to be able to play what we were playing, and so
Yeah. I
it's
can
like so.
respect
But
that.
there's a bittersweet there
Sure.
because I really do want, like, if the Lord wants me to be leading the church, or if they want me to be, if He wants me to be whatever it is at the church that I'm at right now, I want to be available for that, and
Yeah.
and so that meant having to say no to some other things that I love.
Yeah. Well, that's respectable, man. I love, at least you have a heart that's open to do what you feel called to do. And that's
Yeah.
totally respectable and understanding. And I'm sure you miss it at times, but yeah, I definitely, yeah, I can hear the passion in your voice.
Yeah.
Bill?
Hey, my story is going to sound totally like the reverse of Dave's story, but it's not. So previous to this gig here that I've been at the hospital for almost 3 years now, I had been in ministry. I'd been a worship and creative arts pastor for 7 years. And then when our pastor of 18 years left, I was the lead pastor for 7 years. And I loved the first gig. The second gig was really hard for me. And Dave knows full well because Dave was my counsel through a lot of that. But so, long story short, I really struggled to kind of try and find direction for where our church was going to go, where it was going to head. And I ended up giving up a lot of the things that I really loved about the previous job because it's hard to do all those things that, you can't
Mm,
be the worship leader and the pastor. Well, I mean, some people can, but I couldn't. It was too much.
hmm.
So, I could still play on the team and things, and I really loved that role. So, our church, the first 3 years, we're like, okay, who are we going to be? What are we going to call ourselves? All these different things because we felt like it was time to kind of relaunch. And so, just when I felt like I was getting traction and okay, this is what God's calling us to be. This is who we are. This is what we will be called. And our big launch was going to be on Easter of 2020. And we all know what happened the week before that. So immediately then part of pastoring that was hard was wading through the chaos of COVID, wading through all the political chaos where you have people on one side telling you what to do, people on the other side telling you something different. And again, I'm a collaborative person, and I have all these people that are looking at me saying, lead us, be the guy, make the decisions. And that was just super hard. It was hard for my mental health and some different things. And so, long story short, I said, you know what, I don't think this is for me. I think I need to do something different with my life. And so, so I left that position. They have a new pastor now. He's a great guy. I love him. He's fantastic. We stayed actually at that church for a little over a year after that pastor arrived, and we didn't leave because we didn't like him or any of those things. I think in our minds it's like, okay, maybe it's time for us to find somewhere where we can be as a couple, where we don't have people who know us and maybe have the same expectations of us. So we've yet to find that place. But all that stuff said, with the position at the hospital, I really do love that. Part of my thing was I didn't want to work for anyone that was evil. And, so and that's hard. That's a hard job to find these days.
That it is.
But
that it
so
is.
I felt like healthcare was a good choice. And they also said, hey, would you like to work for us? So that was sort of a win-win. So I'm doing that. I'm kind of trying to maintain art as far as visual art type stuff. So I've been doing some freelance and just things here and there as I can. But then of course all the stuff with these bands, which is also kind of visual arts opportunity sometimes for me too. And it just mainly started out, I just wanted to play music to have fun. Not that there's anything wrong with playing worship music. I still love it. And I've got probably more questions about it than maybe I would have in the past, but at the same time, the team that I had whenever I was leading was definitely it was a collaborative team, and we weren't really just doing sort of the cookie cutter things I think that sometimes can happen with worship. We were really, everything from the song choices to just what we would do with it. It was more of a true band kind of situation. And so moving out of that into doing, music where you're playing in honky tonks and things like that may seem like an odd choice to some people, but for me and for where I'm at right now, I wanted to do something that was really just playing music just to be happy. I get to hang out with people that I love and do it. They're all great guys. We get to go places where people enjoy it, and, to varying degrees, but at the same, and also there's a part of it too, just for me personally, a lot of this is music that I either grew up hearing or that music that I know that my dad, who's passed away several years ago, was a big part of his existence. And so, of course, he didn't get to hear this band, but there's a part of it that I think in some ways kind of honors him, a little bit. And so that was sort of just a nice added bonus for me with all of it. So, I'm doing that now. So what does the future hold? I really don't know. I'm totally open. I have 4 adult children. We've got a grandkid that will be here in January, which I'm super jazzed about.
Wow, congrats.
So that's kind of awesome. And, just kind of seeing where life takes me. But I'd say what I'd share in common with Dave is I do want to be open to whatever God would have me do or whatever he want to do with my life. And I don't know that that's changed. I just think that maybe the venue that could be or what that could be might be different than, even what I thought before. So I'm just kind of waiting to see what happens.
Absolutely. Bill and Dave, thank you so much for hanging out.
Absolutely.
It's been a really cool conversation to peek behind the curtain. Like I said earlier, really enjoyed it and really stoked for what you guys have in your future. But thank you for all the music. You guys impacted my life and my friends. 2 of my dearest friends, Andy and Aaron, I grew up with them. We used to listen to Magenta all the time. So I definitely, the impact that you had on us, it doesn't go unnoticed. I just want you to know that it meant a lot to us to hear those records. And it was so different and so unique. And I think that's what we loved about it. Hey, listener, thank you for tuning in again and again. I really, really appreciate it, guys. It's been an awesome journey, so thank you for listening and liking and subscribing and all that jazz. So if you'd like to like and subscribe, like I just mentioned, you know the drill. If you'd like to add me on Instagram and Facebook, at the Rumors Are True Cast. Thank you so much to Bil Brown and Dave Anderson. So honored to have you guys on this podcast to talk about DigHayZoose and the journey that you guys were on and you are currently on as well. So thank you again to Bil Brown and Dave Anderson. Got some incredible artists on the horizon, guys, and you know it, nostalgia is still a heck of a drug. The podcast is produced by Wesley Hill, artwork by Jared Chase Bowser, and music by Brian Jaron. This episode is dedicated to the memory of my dear friend, producer, and man of many talents, Brian Jaron.